Hey guys, it's Luke here and welcome back to another video. Not the most positive one, I'm afraid though today. I am of course joined with my E92 M3, sat very pretty at the moment. I think this has got to be my favourite angle of the car. The side shot is just so cool. I love it, absolutely love it. But as I said, unfortunately today it's not the most positive of videos. I've got some problems with the car, two main ones which do stand out. But I thought that seeing as this is kind of the workhorse of the fleet, it doesn't really feature on the channel that much. It's been a little while, so I thought I'd compile, well, all my problems together into one video along with a general update about the car, because I have had it now for about a year. I've done about 15,000 miles in the car. Some of you guys may remember I bought the car off a good friend of mine, Ryan. Overall, it's been absolutely brilliant, apart from being excruciatingly expensive, very loud, and quite unreliable. So yeah, a general update with the car, and it also gives me an opportunity to show you the two main problems which I've got with it at the moment, which yes, are booked to be done, but I'll be honest, it's making the car pretty much undrivable. This video has been sponsored by OBD11. OBD11 is the ultimate portable diagnostic device which allows you to customize, diagnose and program your car from a smartphone. OBD11 is authorized by VW Audi Group and BMW, making it the safest and most reliable way of reading your car's data on the move. To connect and set up the device, simply insert the device to your OBD port and connect it via Bluetooth on the app. So a big thank you to my mate Jack for lending me his lovely M140i for me to demonstrate some of the OBD11's capabilities. So follow me, we'll hop on in. We already have it all connected to the OBD port, and I already have it connected on my phone. Now there's two main things which you can kind of do using this device. One being the diagnostics, an extremely important thing. Being so small and portable, it's just something you can just keep in your glove box of your car at all times. If you get any fault codes, then you can go into the app, which I'm about to do a scan and see exactly what it is and then reset it. The other thing which you can do is obviously the coding. Everyone likes coding from factory. There's so many parts of cars which are hidden, which can be unlocked. Little features like various startup displays or anything like that. But what we're going to do on the app here, we're going to do a quick scan to see basically if this car has any faults, and then we can see what they are and then reset them if necessary. And as you can see, 0 faults have been found. So Jack, behind the camera, don't worry, your car's not destroyed. If there were some faults, in fact, I've spoken about this before, you can then swipe up and clear. We don't need to clear because there isn't any. However, we can nip over to some of the coding possibilities. Now, if I just scroll down here, I mean, there is a pretty endless list of things you can do. For example, acoustic lock. Okay, sport display color is what I'm going to change. I have enough points, so I'm going to select that. Default is, I think, like the orange effect that you get in BMWs, and then we're going to have the M Star. We're going to do that, activate that for 10 points, and there we go, all done. And then what we can do is go into sport displays. As you can see, they are now white and red. That looks pretty cool, actually. Now, I think it's pretty fair to say this is literally just scratching the surface of what the OBD11 tool can do. Of course, you can find all the details down in the description down below. But yeah, a really nifty tool, quick and easy to set up, and just an essential thing to keep with you. A big thank you to OBD11 for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. I think with that said, let's crack on with the main part of today's video. So yeah, my E92 M3 is back on the channel. It's been a good few months since it's been on, if I'm not mistaken. Now, before I get on and tell you guys about the problem I've been having with the car, which ironically does actually mean I have to take it for a drive, just a general update about it. As you can see, it's now wearing 144 lap. I got a third and final lap plate. So now all three cars have a derivative of 14 lap on the car. I have 144 lap on this. Fairly obviously, 14 lap is on the A45S and 114 lap is on the Golf R. So I think this is the first video where this is actually featured on, although I am well aware that when you get closer, we have the dreaded number plate holes. That is one of the things which I do need to get sorted. The car does need quite a bit of paintwork, which I'm going to get done soon. I mean, yeah, sneak peek of some of my stone chips. Got a pretty hefty collection going on up here on the bonnet, but they're meant to be driven, and driven this one is. We're nearing 83,000 miles on the car now, so yeah, we're getting ever closer to 100,000 miles. Not quite the 225,000 of Tony's car, which you may have seen on the channel quite recently. Epic car that. It would be my dream to have such a high mileage example of an M3, maybe one day indeed. But I suppose as these cars get older, this is a 58 plate car. It was actually registered on the last day of 2008, so it's pretty much a 2009, although officially a 2008 car. A little bit annoying really, because it was one day off being a year newer. They are getting older, and this one definitely is getting so much use, that is for sure. And you're going to have little problems. I have had a few problems in the course of my ownership. If you're clued up on these E92s or the E9X platforms, you know the two main problems are of course the throttle actuators and the rod bearings. The throttle actuators actually went on the car literally 100 miles after I bought it, which was at no fault to Ryan, the previous owner. I want to make that clear. I did make it clear in the video which I made of the car when that happened. The units were actually replaced before his ownership with a lifetime warranty. However, when I went to go claim on that warranty and get a new set, there was something in the small print which meant it actually wasn't. So I did actually get a new set of Evolve throttle actuators, which then of course fixed that issue. However, I did go through a bit of a debacle going through a repair service, getting it all sorted, and yeah, it was basically off the road for about a month. Now, a problem which I didn't actually post online, which is actually still underlying and still present on the car, actually happened when I was out on a bit of a drive with some friends around Wales, kind of late, probably Q2, Q3 last year. The car is lowered. As you can see, it's not on any spaces at the moment. It is lowered, and it does have a pretty low front end. And basically what happened, we were going down some pretty narrow single track roads, coincidentally like what we have around us today. I can only describe as a part of the moon was in the road, a massive boulder, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was following other cars, and I didn't see it until the last minute. The car I was following, which I believe was a slightly newer 3 Series, cleared it fine. I didn't, and after pulling over pretty sharpish afterwards, I noticed it was leaking fluid. I thought, oh no, here we go, this is going to be expensive. There was some fluid basically dripping out quite heavily somewhere underneath the car. Don't worry, that's just rainwater, don't worry. And I thought, okay, this is going to get really, really expensive. Luckily, it was nothing too serious, although it is slightly irritating. Now, basically what happened, or what I believe happened, was a line from the screen wash actually got ruptured when the rock went underneath. I don't know whether that is true, whether it is that what it was, but I can only assume that it was, because it was like this blue liquid that was coming out, which is of course not coolant and of course not engine oil. And then shortly after that, the low screen wash message came on, and coincidentally since that day I now have to put a lot of screen wash in this car because I think there is a small split in one of the lines. Now that I haven't actually posted about online at all. At the time I was very, very worried, pretty much stranded in Wales, but that's not the point of this video. Just a general update to share with you some of the experiences I've had with this car. I mean, like I've said, I've been kind of going on about all the negative things and bad things which have happened to me with this car, and annoyingly there are some more to come. But this thing has honestly been a dream. Using it every day and doing so many miles is actually quite an expense, and I will do an expenses video fairly soon with the car, because it's cost me a lot of money, there's no denying that. But some of the memories I've had with it, some of the experiences have been awesome. You may know I have the custom headers back Mad DP exhaust on it, which is just amazing. And other than that, I haven't actually done any modifications to it because Ryan, the previous owner, did do a few bits. It is technically a stage 1 car. I'd love to do some bits under the bonnet. Maybe one day I'll supercharge it. That's for another video, but I'm just loving it. It's such a cool car. And when I sold my Mark V GTI, which it was the car that replaced this for those of you who don't know. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. Another problem I had with the car, sorry, getting negative again, was actually to do with the brakes. Now, again, another fairly known problem or weakness with these cars is the brakes. And that's kind of where the main problem lies. And it's quite a big one. Starting off with the rears. Now this is of course the offside rear of the car, and I believe about 4 months ago now we had the dreaded rear caliper binding. Now this is basically where the pistons within the caliper get seized and then basically it causes the pad to constantly adhere to the disc, of course going along at say motorway speeds or 50-60 miles an hour on just general roads. It's going to get very hot, it's going to wear down the pad and also be a bit of a nuisance. Now I had that problem with the offside rear, and so I had to get a new caliper for it, and of course everything was all sorted. That was about 4 months ago, and I just had to do this side. You can see it is still fairly shiny in there, so a new caliper was done. Luckily the disc was fine. I did however have to do the 2 new rear pads. I put DS2500s in it. You might be able to see the little emblem in it there. Now would anyone like to hazard a guess what has happened now? Moving over to the near side rear. Now this car's been parked up for a little while. You might still hear some ticking, which is basically metal being very hot. Of course, it's happened on this side, but this time it's pretty bad. It's been doing it for a couple of days, and what's annoying is I actually have some pretty big plans with this car coming up pretty soon, and in its current state, it is pretty undrivable, which is very, very annoying. So as you can see, moving towards the hub, you can see that's the main part where it's binding. You can actually see how blue the disc is, but to be honest, it sounds bad, but the only way I can really portray this is to go out in the car, take it for a drive, because it's so annoying, so annoying. So let's hop in and let me show you what's going on with it. Now yes, in the grand scheme of things, a disc which is binding, or a caliper which is binding, sorry, is not the end of the world. And no, it's not. But as I said, I rely on this car a lot. I do a fair amount of miles, be it for commuting with my normal proper job or going all over the place to film content for you and for this channel. And the plan I have for this car very soon does involve a lot of miles, and a lot of motorway miles going at a decent speed, kind of 70 miles an hour. Now at lower speeds you don't really notice it that much. Now however, when you are driving for a prolonged amount of time and or are driving at 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, then you do notice it, and it is really bad, and I'll explain that right now. As you accelerate, I don't know if you can hear this because I have a mic on, you get an awful like noise, hear me out, from the back. In fact, if I actually take my mic off, and I'm doing 60, I don't know if you can hear that. It is not only the worst noise in the world because it shakes everything. I mean, my hands are on the wheel, look at my hands. You get the vibration through the wheel, but it's also really rather damaging. I know that as I'm driving, that disc is getting far too hot. Same with the pad, but most of the time when I drive this car, I need to drive it. Can you hear that? And I don't know if these GoPros are actually being vibrated around at all, but it feels like the wheel's falling off. It is awful. It is so bad. That'll drown out the noise. Oh, that's bad. Like, that is undrivable. And obviously not even motorway speeds as well. Genuinely sounds like the wheel is going to fall off. And I know that this is not going to come across on camera as well as what it is in here. But you know, it is so frustrating. So frustrating. I get the car is old. I get that it's maybe semi-high mileage. I mean, not really for its age, but 82,000 miles to me is a lot of miles. And it's so annoying. So annoying. Now, whilst I have no one behind me, of course the matter... Oh, brilliant, fuel, brilliant. Well, there's another problem. Fantastic. As I was saying, there is no one behind me, so I can demonstrate what happens when you brake, because naturally that gets a lot worse. Now this has been what? A 2-mile drive for this specific piece to camera. I'm going to park back up in the same place where I was earlier, and we'll have a look at that caliper. It won't be glowing, but it is going to be so bad. And then I can tell you the other issue I have with the brakes on this car. Again, more brake problems. Not good. Oh, it's getting worse. It's so getting worse. Oh, that's... That's the splitter. I'm the worst driver. Oh, can you hear it squeaking? Oh dear, right. Let's park up. Don't put the handbrake on. Let's go and have a look at this. Okay, making a beeline straight round to the near side rear. I mean, you can just see already the amount of brake dust on this wheel. Can you hear that? That sounds like I've just been doing some hot laps around a track, and it is hot as anything as well. That is not a happy boy. Now, can you imagine doing any more than 2 miles on that? In fact, I can actually see smoke coming off it. That is not good, and that's after 2 miles. I tend to do maybe 500 miles a week, some weeks in this car. I can't do 500 miles a week in that now. And as things stand, I definitely cannot do what I had planned to do with it in literally a week's time, which either way you will be seeing on the channel, just with perhaps a different car if I don't manage to get it sorted. But that is really, oh, look at that, it's getting worse. I got a whiff of smoke then. Oh, and by the way, it absolutely stinks. Absolutely stinks. Split is okay, don't worry. It's seen better days anyway. Went too hot into a parking space forwards and just went onto the curb, which is not great, but it's still somewhat in one piece. Anyway, yeah, brakes on these cars, they're not great, even from factory, and I'm talking about up front. For me, this car is a daily driver, and I cannot justify putting AP Racing brakes on it. There'd be better brakes on this than what's on my Golf, the proper track car. But I do have a problem with the front brakes on this car. It is down to wear and tear. Generally, it's not so much a problem with it, it's just another expense for me. Long and short of it, I need new distant pads up front. Now this, I believe, is due to just general wear and tear. I don't actually know when the front distant pads were done last, certainly not in my ownership, so at least 15,000 miles ago. And basically, where this car has done some track work before, Ryan did some track days in it, and again, this is at no disrespect to him at all, but they did warp in his ownership. He had them reskimmed, had them leveled out, I suppose you could say, and they were absolutely fine, and have been fine up until about 1,000 miles ago. So yes, they are warped again, I guess. I haven't really put so much heat through it, apart from the near side rear. I can still hear it ticking away back there. But it's no surprise that the brakes, the standard brakes on the E92 M3 are not great, but I have a track car, I'm not going to track this, and so I cannot justify putting AP Racing brakes on it. So I'm going to have a new set of distant pads put on the car. And as I alluded to earlier, a lot, in fact every problem I have with this car is being sorted soon. I'm going up to see the legends at Swift Performance, where the car will have everything sorted along with a nice big service. Anyway, that is where we are with the car. Aside from all of that, and it being the most unreliable car I've ever owned, I absolutely love this thing. It's staying for the long term, 100%. And aside all of those mechanical gremlins, it's still unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, and a pleasure to drive every day. But as the sun is setting and there's a massive rain cloud over there, I'm going to wrap it up here. So if there's anything specific you want me to do, let me know by all means. But for me today, that is it. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please make sure you leave a like and make sure to subscribe for all the adventures still to come.